Good morning, sixth graders. We are moving on to our third chapter in science. We're just cruising through these chapters. This one's going to be a little bit longer, but we're looking at forces. So the first lesson is going to be the nature of force. Sorry, didn't mean to swipe through there. So like normal, we are going to start with our My Planet diary. This one is about misconceptions, and it's called Forced to Change. Misconception. Any object that is set in motion will slow down on its own. Fact. A force is needed to change an object's state of motion. A soccer ball sits at rest. You come along and kick it, sending it flying across the field. It eventually slows to a stop. You applied a force to start it moving, and then it stopped all on its own, right? No. Forces cause all changes in motion. Just as you applied a force to the ball to speed it up from rest, the ground applied a force to slow it down to a stop. If the ground didn't apply a force to the ball, it would keep rolling forever without slowing down or stopping. So what are our key questions for this lesson? What is acceleration? How are forces described? And how do forces affect motion? So I'm actually going to move my bubble back over here. So in science, acceleration refers to increasing speed, decreasing speed, or changing direction. Acceleration is the rate at which velocity changes. And when changing speed, we learn that whenever an object's speed changes, the object accelerates. Also decelerates, or sometimes it's called negative acceleration. So when it's speeding up, it's accelerating. When it's slowing down, it's decelerating, or it has negative acceleration. When changing direction, even an object that is traveling at a constant speed can be accelerating, for example, going around a curve. Many objects continuously change direction without changing speed, which is circular motion or motion along a circular path. I'm sorry that I just blocked that from your reading. So how do we calculate acceleration? Acceleration equals final speed, what speed it ends with, minus the initial speed, what speed it starts with, divided by time. So for example, we have an airplane that takes off, starts with an initial speed of 0, and its final speed is 24. Then we divide it by a change in time of 3 seconds. Sorry, divide the change in speed by the time of 3 seconds. So 24 minus 0 divided by 3. 24 minus 0 is 24, and we label that as meters per second, divided by 3 seconds for the time. We end up with 8 meters per second squared. Because there's 2 of those s's, it's going to be s squared. What about a force? A force is a push or pull. Like velocity and acceleration, a force is described by its strength and by the direction in which it acts. A Newton is an SI unit that the strength of force is measured in, usually abbreviated as N for Newton. The net force is the combination of all the forces on an object. And then our final answer to our key question, a non-zero net force causes a change in the object's motion. So if it's not 0, it's going to cause a change. So let's look at some net forces. We have 2 here. So we can see that the 2 dogs are pushing on the box. The first dog is pushing with 16 newtons to the right, and the little dog is pushing with 10 newtons to the right. Here we see the big dog is pushing with 20 newtons to the right, the little dog is pushing with 10 newtons to the left. And then here, for C, we have both dogs pushing with 10 newtons, one each direction. So when you have a net force and you figure it out, you need both a direction, so left or right, sometimes up or down, and what your net force is. So here we have both dogs pushing the same direction, so we will add those together to get 26 newtons to the right. Here we have the dogs pushing against each other, so we subtract the bigger from the smaller, or the smaller from the bigger, excuse me. So 20 minus 10 is 10, and since the bigger one is pushing to the right, we end up with 10 newtons to the right. Here the 2 dogs cancel each other out. So our vocabulary, acceleration is the rate at which velocity changes. Force is a push or pull. A Newton is an SI unit that the strength of force is measured in. And a net force, sorry, I didn't mean to write that twice, is the combination of all the forces on an object. And your assignment is to work on the Edmodo questions for this lesson. If you have any questions, let me know.